3, 2, 1. Hello, listeners. Thank you for watching and or listening to Teddybears and Tentacles ASMR episode number 35. Yeah, thank y'all for watching episode number 30. This is not 35, this is 36, I think. So we're on 36, I think. Or maybe it's 35. But
no, it's 36.
Yeah, 36. So thanks for watching Teddybears and Tentacles Podcast. What? My name is Quinn, and I have with me today Pokemon trainer,
Pokemon trainer,
Skinny Rick.
Skine Rick.
What's going on, dude?
I need a haircut.
Yeah, you do, dude.
Yeah,
you got that,
dude. I mean, it's thick for sure, but it's not good.
You got that down under mop. It looks like, like that Australian mop.
Yeah,
and
it's
I have
like, I was just gonna say, it's just like how toilets flush a different way. It's like my hair
grows a different way.
The cowlicks all go in reverse, you know?
Yeah. And also we have with us today, rocking the production booth, the beautiful Callie. No comment from her. So
you have a mic. That's not it.
You gotta. It's the fourth one.
You're almost there.
Hello.
There
Hello.
you are.
There she is.
I am here now.
Yeah. So we're here today, and we're here every other day too.
I have breaking news.
What you got?
20 minutes ago, Apex Legends published a video about the new legend, or whatever we're calling them, the characters.
Yeah.
So that's there. It's Legacy of a Thief is what it's called.
Legacy of a Thief.
Sounds really cool.
Well, we'll have to watch it whenever this is over.
Yeah, dude.
But yeah, so we're here. We got stuff is back in full swing. The other podcasts in the building are back in production.
Back in production.
Yeah.
Since we are technically reopened as a state.
Technically, yeah.
Even though the virus is just kind of sitting in the corner.
Yeah.
Looking at us.
Doing push-ups.
It's like the scene from Despicable Me.
Yeah.
When Gru walks into the bank, and then Vector's in the corner just, hey.
Yeah.
That's the scene.
I don't remember that scene.
Wow,
but I trust you.
That's what's happening.
Yeah, so today I did Thriving on Mission today. We had a lady who's been making these bands for people's masks where the bands from the mask don't touch your ear. And she's been giving them away. That was pretty cool. And it's basically like it pulls the bands that go around your ear on the thing. It pulls them and like ties them together so that they're like healthcare workers, they have to wear them all day. They start like hurting their ears real
Chafing.
bad.
Yeah, you decide if you want a little chafy ear or if you want Rona.
Yeah, Rana.
They call it.
Yeah. So, yeah, so that's what's going on today. Pretty excited to be back in full swing with that stuff. I missed all the podcastery that's been going on.
Yeah.
And you got to learn how to build a computer yesterday.
I did.
So what'd you think?
Anything that requires me to use my fingertips like this makes me nervous. So, but it wasn't too complicated. Yeah. I just feel like I'm going to break everything that I touch.
Yeah, it's not bad.
So
it's not bad. And those things are actually pretty hard to break, all the parts and stuff. Yeah. So
they just look so fragile because they're not in a case at all, really. Everything's just kind of out there. Yeah.
Well, most of it's made out of silicone. So, But, so we've been doing some of that. And today, our episode that we have, we're going to talk about political lobbying.
Yep.
And so this is one that we've been talking about doing, a Roger Stone episode for a while. And so we just kind of figured that this would be a good way to kind of step into that thing. And so we'll just start with kind of lobbying in general today, and then moving forward we'll do probably a Black Manafort and Stone episode. I kind of was digging a little bit today and couldn't find a ton, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
I'll tell you what, dude, I don't really know anything about lobbying.
Yeah, well, we're about to learn, dude. You're about to learn
on a scale of 1 to 10.
You're a 0.
I'm like a whatever pi is, you know.
Yeah. 3.14159265 before the number starts becoming obsolete. And you could check that and because it's true. So
yeah.
No, I memorized it in like middle school or whatever. That's actually it is the number where it stops like rolling down, but it's also the number for pi that could only fit on a calculator at that time. So yeah. So political lobbying, I know that you've probably heard the term if you don't know what it is.
You hear it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, you hear it a lot. So we're going to go with the definition of it first, and then we'll get into, some of the stuff that kind of surrounds it in our modern day politics. So lobbying, persuasion, or interest representation is an act of attempting to influence the actions, policies, or decisions of officials, most often legislatures or members of regulatory agencies. Lobbying, which usually involves direct face-to-face contact, is done by many types of people, associations, and organization groups, including individuals in the private sector, corporations, fellow legislatures, or government officials, or advocacy groups. Lobbyists may be among the legislator's constituencies, meaning a voter or block of voters with their electoral district. They may engage in lobbying as a business. So professional lobbyists are people whose business is trying to influence legislation, regulation, or other government decisions, actions, policies on behalf of a group or individual who hires them. So basically what these people do most of the time is people who already have relationships built with different representatives from, like they said, Congress or just whatever. And what they do is open lobbying up to different companies and stuff like that. So if you're a congressman and I'm a lobbyist, Walmart could come to me and try and get me to persuade you to say lift like some of the sanctioning zones or something, around like more or less like how many Walmarts can be in a specific area or, whatever. And so, most people consider it kind of a dirty business more or less because you're just giving someone money to use their influence with someone in power, just to kind of get your way. And you can kind of see through history how this has kind of muddied the political waters, if you will. So, you hear Trump, the big Trump thing that was drain the swamp.
Yeah, dude, drain the swamp.
Political lobbying more or less created the swamp, if you will. So what we're going to do now is look at kind of the timeline of lobbying and when it started and all of that kind of stuff. So the next tab should be that. So this is the history of lobbying in the U.S. This timeline, go ahead and scroll through it just so we can kind of see what it looks like. This may not be.
So first, lobbyist hired.
Click that and see what it brings you to.
Yeah. This is the timeline. It's got the stuff.
Okay, so 1792, it says the term lobbying, contrary to DC myth, did not originate from political favor seekers mobbing Ulysses S. Grant in the lobby of the Willard Hotel. It actually dates back to the 1640s when the lobbies of the Chamber of the British Parliament were a hotbed for political wrangling. Lobbyists existed unofficially in this country practically from the birth of the new American government. In 1792, the Virginia veterans of the Continental Army hired William Hull specifically to lobby the newly formed Congress for additional compensation. So, what are we? 1776, the Constitution was signed, correct? The country was technically formed, and less than 20 years later, you have private citizens or just different interest groups, in this case the military, already starting to, I don't know, do we want to call it manipulate?
Dang, dude, I'm yawning today.
I don't know if manipulate's the right word, although that's kind of is what it's doing. I got to take this hoodie off, man. I'm sweating to death.
I don't know. I guess it would be manipulating. Persuading is the word that they use.
Yeah, so we can just say persuading.
Mistake.
Persuading to be able to more or less get their way. In this case, it was the military. So let's keep going.
You want to go to the next one?
Yeah. So I guess my first question to you would be, what do you think about that fact, how soon it happened after the country was formed? How do you feel about, I guess, more or less what the country was formed for and the fact that this kind of thing was happening, in such a short period of time afterward?
Well, so with the lobbying, right?
Yeah.
Is the idea that they're like making financial investments into this like political, I don't understand what's happening. Are they giving people money for their campaigns in order to receive something if they
sometimes it is direct
put into office?
Yeah, sometimes it is as direct as that, and so a good, like I said earlier, like unionizing jobs, and let's say you're trying to do like for like Congress or whatever, like you want to unionize this new like building development or town that's being built or whatever, like you either go to the politician or you go to a lobbyist, who the lobbyist would be, more or less a middleman. You're giving them money, some of that money probably will go into whatever this department is. Some of it will go in the lobbyist pockets, but their job is basically to put in your ear whatever, so, hey, we want to, like, I'm the leader of this union. We want to unionize this thing, so I'm going to contact this lobbyist. Hey, we want to do this. And then the lobbyist comes up with a plan for how to persuade you to allow the union to do this, more or less. And that's just an example. I mean, there's, I'm sure that we'll run across some more, as we keep going.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know, dude. It sounds like it's something that had been happening for a while before America.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that that's just, we can call it like lobbying is the technical term, but I mean people using resources to influence the people in power has been a thing since.
Yeah, I mean they just
forever.
The first one, it says it right here. British Parliament was the first one in the 1640s. So, the reason that I asked that question is it would be a familiar practice that would be, a strange one to bring to this new country that you're trying to start,
So, I mean, what are the laws around it? Well, I imagine that there's some restrictions.
Yeah, there are now. We're going to learn about that some a little bit.
I don't know, dude, because it just seems like that's part of the thing is that, you get people to support you. Sure. And promise them.
Yeah, it has a lot to do with those money transactions.
I don't personally like it because I don't like the idea of of people running for office anywhere in any form. Like I think the ideal way is that the people, like, it's almost always a write-in type thing where it's like the people decide who they think is best, instead of it becoming like an actual it's not a business, but it's a career, I guess. Like, I don't think it should be a career. I think it should be a, like, hey, the people think that you would be the best person for this spot.
Yeah.
Do you accept to do it? And I mean, it's not going to happen, because that's just not where we're at. But as far as like what I think is ideal, that seems a lot better to the alternative, I guess, of what we have now. So like with Washington, like when he was first president, he said no multiple times to people who were like, oh, you could just be all right. Like you could just be the king. And he's like, well, no, that's not what we need to do. So like, but that requires people who have, you know, some form of higher moral code and, you know, honor of like, I'm leading the people for them, not for me.
Yeah.
And so, but we just don't have that. So, I mean, with the system we have right now, it just seems like it's going to be, whether it's legal or not, someone's going to be doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, it always is. I mean, that's where the kind of, you know, the dirty mentality of it comes from, is the fact that you're basically paying for someone's friendship with someone else.
It's the EA way, dude. Microtransactions. You pay to win. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. So let's go ahead. Let's go to the next little thing on this timeline. So this is the word lobbyist first appears in print in the U.S. In U.S. politics, the word began to appear in the first reference to Ohio politics in the 1830s. Before long, though, the term was used more extensively to include all those who talk to lawmakers on behalf of special interests. Let's go to the next one. So this is 1850 to 1860. Gun maker gifts lawmakers. In the 1850s, Samuel Colt, maker of the Colt 45 and other firearms, passed out guns as gifts to lawmakers and their families, including one member's 12-year-old son, as part of a bid to extend a patent.
Oh my gosh.
So, you know, here we see,
I mean, I'll take
back in the day, it wasn't money. It wasn't always based on money. It was based on gifts and, you know, stuff like that.
Colt 45.
Yeah. And so,
any day, dude.
You know,
give me one of those. Right
now, other than the legality of it, at least at some point.
Think about that, dude. How old that, like if this is talking about a bid to extend a patent, like he made this.
Yeah.
But we're also still
using it,
making them.
Yeah.
And like it is the, not the brand, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's like
it's an enterprise,
top,
dude. Yeah.
How wild is that?
Yeah. Yeah. So let's keep on going. Here we go. This is where, the title of this point is 1875, lobbyist admits bribery. By the Gilded Age of the 1870s.
Yeah, I guess that's my question, is where is the line between
bribery
and lobbying? Yeah.
So by the Gilded Age of the 1870s, the lobbying industry was in full swing, and Sam Ward was the undisputed king of lobby. Ward was a pioneering social lobbyer who dazzled members of Congress with fancy dinners, fine wines, and conversation that often eventually won them over to his side. However, in 1875, Ward was convicted and admitted to bribery. In his testimony to Congress, Ward is quoted as saying, of his position as a lobbyist, "I do not say I am proud, but I am not ashamed of the occupation." So, you know, I think where the line is really crossed is whenever you're putting money into people's pockets instead of into this like political campaign or administration.
Yeah. That's so weird, dude.
So,
I mean, I admit, well, look, this is such a weird line, because like hosting these types of parties and stuff, you know, I mean, think about the same thing that, you know, with Epstein, like hosting these things to get people to come to them, to get like everyone to come to him.
Yep.
It's like the same thing.
Yeah.
Like that, like where does that line change where it's like, okay, you're giving them all this nice stuff, hosting these parties to influence them. Where does the line get drawn where it's like, okay, now it's bribery? Like we can't give, we were trying to do an event a while back in honor of like first responders and stuff. But the problem is you can't do any with like food service and stuff. You can't do any discounts or free meals or anything anymore for police officers because it's seen as bribery, is what they classify it as. It's like firefighters and, you know, EMT and stuff, you can, you know, but how weird is it that like that's bribery to want to like give someone a free meal for doing a good job, but this isn't, you know, oh, I'm going to, give you all this nice stuff
Mm-hmm.
so that you'll listen to me,
Yeah.
is not bribery.
And a lot of that lobbying and all that, a lot of it has to do with, not has to do with, but whenever you see these different people like presidential candidates or governors or senators or some people that have to be voted in that make these really lofty promises that later people go, that didn't
Happen.
happen, is a lot of time it has to do with lobbying and in some cases like borderline bribery type
weird,
stuff.
dude.
So let's say you're running on, like we were talking about earlier, trying to unionize like the building of a town. I'm governor, I'm going to run on the fact that we're going to unionize the building of this town. On the other side of it, you get contacted by a guy, billionaire who owns all of these different private contracting businesses like carpentry and cement pours and stuff like that. And he goes, hey, I'll give you, 20 million into your, political party or into your, your next campaign for you to get voted again if you drop the union thing and make this and give me the job.
Yeah.
And then what ends up happening is they'll, go through, find some loopholes or whatever, or different rules is going to make it harder for this union to do it in the first place. We can't do it.
Yeah.
We can't do the union.
I guess
sorry,
we'll have
guys.
to do this other thing.
And so, that's the kind of stuff that happens whenever it comes to this type of stuff.
I don't know how it is now, but like 3 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 4 now, when we went to Kenya, it's not illegal to buy votes.
Yeah.
So like you'll actually get because we were there during their presidential like election, like cycle, I guess, and there was like they basically had these like flatbed like truck like a like how you can get like an 18-wheeler that'll pull like a flatbed trailer behind it. Well, these are like the trucks that just have them built in, so it's just a flatbed, and it's like the big truck that's meant for like hauling stuff.
Yeah.
And they'll just get out there with banners and a bunch of dudes with cash, and they'll just handing it out to people. It's like, hey, vote for this person, vote for that person. You'll get people fist fighting in the streets.
That's crazy,
like
dude.
different, different political parties like out there just brawling in the streets. It was crazy.
So a good example of this is, we're going to build a wall and Mexico is going to pay for it, and like, no diss on to Trump or anything, but what we have is a glorified baby gate that taxpayers have had to pay for.
Yeah.
And so, it sounds great whenever you're trying to pull in votes to say, hey, look, we're going to build this thing. It's going to give what this particular group of people want. And none of us are even going to have to pay for it.
Yeah.
That brings in votes. And
those types of promises are really, dude, I just hate it so much, but there's nothing you can
I
say there's nothing you can do about it. There is something we can do about it. If everyone did something, it would make a difference. But the problem is we have too many people who don't care. And so that's where we're at.
It's the same, like Tulsi Gabbard was a good one to look at, where I just went, oh, like lobbying is going to tear this thing apart, because she was going all off of this like anti-regime change war. Like, we're not doing that anymore. So, like them overthrowing Gaddafi and all that stuff. Like, we're not doing that. Well, like, that sounds really good. That gets the votes in. What about whenever Tulsi Gabbard gets presented with all of these, the bank account numbers from people who run in the military industrial complex? Hey, I know you want to, and it sounds good to get out there. Look how much money we're bringing in. Also, by the way, like, Russia just wants to let you know that, if you can just keep the Iran-Pakistan thing kind of going, they'll throw an extra, $3 billion during your administration into our stuff too. And, that's just the type of stuff that happened. So let's read about this. This is called the Foreign Agents Registration Act. So this is 1938. Lobbying was not only the domain of domestic special interests. Foreign companies and governments often lobbied and had connections to the U.S. government. Why they put a comma there, don't know. But this began to present a problem in the years before World War II as the Nazi Party rose to power in Germany. The American government grew uneasy amidst speculation the party was poised to disseminate Nazi propaganda throughout the United States, fearing a flood of anti-American noise on the airwaves. Congress quickly passed the Foreign Agents Registration Act, a bill which required foreign entities to publicly disclose any political or quasi-political relationships they have with American politicians. And so we've seen this come into play recently. Abby Martin, I want to say, was going to speak at Georgia Southern, which is where Callie went to school, and
still going.
Yeah, still going. And so this lady ended up reading through the agreement and saw that within it there was a clause that said while you were employed in this contract, you are not allowed to boycott the country of Israel, which is a very specific, odd thing to have in the middle of it. And it's because, Israel in some form lobbies in the state of Georgia. Yeah. And so there was a lawsuit from Georgia Southern as well as Abby Martin to, the state of Georgia for not allowing her platform because she wasn't willing to sign this paper saying that she would not boycott Israel.
Yeah, that's wild.
And, she is like banned from a few countries, but it still doesn't change the fact that, if you believe in the First Amendment, then that's it, period. And this platform shouldn't be swept under her feet only because, she's not willing to say something bad about Israel at some point. So it's really weird the way that this thing, works and kind of shapes the world that we live in,
There's a lot that goes into it, I guess. But also I don't know, dude, because maybe you do, but most people, when they just talk about politics, they're not talking about this type of stuff. They're just like arguing, based off of who they think is better. Yeah. And it's like there's so much more behind all of it than this person and their ideals and their personality. Like there's people, maybe like, I guess controlling isn't the right word, but there are people who have like hands in what's happening that you don't see. There's the person themselves that's running for whatever form of, like, whatever position. There's more than just them. They're being influenced by any number of people that we don't know about.
Callie and I for a while would get into what seemed to be sort of like disagreement periods whenever it came to candidates and stuff like that. And really it was a misunderstanding on the part of what we're talking about whenever we're talking about policy. And that's where I think a lot of conversations that people have surrounding politics end up falling apart, is because whenever I'm talking about policy, I'm talking about this, I'm talking about foreign policy, I'm talking about that stuff. Like for me, it's not, it is for some people, but I don't care about this person's for or against like abortion or gay marriage or any of that stuff. Like what I want to know is who is this person in bed with? Not does this person care who I'm in bed with? And that's kind of where what you're talking about is just the amount of hands that are put into the pot that you don't ever see. That's what shapes us. As a nation.
I guess the easiest way to track that type of stuff is to see where the money's coming from and like see who's not calling the shots. It's just, it sounds real like conspiracy to talk about it like that. like the idea of there's someone else running the show, but also it's just like with anything, there's just a lot that goes into it. There's a, that money doesn't just come from nowhere.
Yep.
The resources don't come from nowhere. So like, where is it coming from?
Yep. Who
Who are these people? What's their,
Yep.
I guess, goal or agenda?
Yeah.
What are they trying to see done?
Bill Gates is a great example right now. You're seeing him on CNN and CBS and ABC talking about what should we do with the coronavirus, and it's like what. Well, the first question is why. I would like to ask the question: why is Bill Gates? Why are we asking Bill Gates these questions anyway? But
About the coronavirus.
all of the people who are talking about it, the other people on there, news anchors and journalists and stuff like that, they're all lying and have their own motivations as well. But that's a good example. Is just what is this guy doing? Like, didn't this guy make the operating system that runs my computer and made a bunch of money off of it, and that's it?
And now he's the professional. When it
Yeah.
comes to,
Now this is who we're turning to
what
for
a weird thing.
vaccination advice and
Yeah.
what we're supposed to do with the economy after this thing is done. I mean, Bill Gates is 70. He's almost 80. How old is Bill Gates? Find that out real quick. I want to say 78 or something.
Oh, where's the mouse? There it is. Okay. Is it? Oh, it says it over there. He's 64.
64. Okay. Well, that's not that bad, but it's still, just what are we net worth? 99.5 billion. Like
That's
so.
since
Is that
April
what
of this
qualifies
year.
Bill Gates to talk about this stuff? I mean, I don't. It just seems so weird.
I mean, he's a software developer, investor, and philanthropist. I mean, that's really the only thing you have there is the fact that he is a philanthropist.
Yeah, but he's
and it's
not
like,
a social engineer
yeah,
or
he has money and he
Yeah.
likes to see things happen with the money. That's where we're at. I'm sure he has professionals that he's talking to. When you have that
Sure.
much money and your goal is to see something done with the money, like you're gonna have people around you telling you what's going on. But still,
But that's still
like,
whenever.
but even at that is exactly what we're talking about. Bill Gates is not who's making these decisions, I guess. Like it's the professionals that he's talking to that are influencing what he's saying.
Yeah, but
And
still,
so-
then if you're CNN, like this is what that news segment looks like. All right, now to Bill Gates, billionaire philanthropist. Bill Gates goes, "Hey everybody, I'm Bill Gates." Now to Dr. Andrea or what? You know what I'm saying? Like it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be.
Well, I think that
yeah.
I mean, I don't know, dude. I think just being a philanthropist and having a lot of money isn't enough whenever, we're talking about our country's, future.
Well-being.
The world future in this case, because he's, trying to do the vaccine and he's trying to do the chips and he's,
Dude, I ain't trying to do no chips.
globalist, bro. So let's keep going.
Next one or
Let's do that one. Yeah. So this is 1945 Lobbying Registration Act, first domestic lobbying disclosure law. 8 years after the Foreign Agents Registration Act was signed, Congress passed the Lobbying Registration Act. For the first time in U.S. history, domestic lobbyists, defined as anyone who spent at least half of their paid time directly lobbying the federal government, were required to register with the Secretary of Senate and the Clerk of the House of Representatives and file quarterly reports. So I guess this is where the line is of lobbying and bribery, is registering with the government as someone who is going to attempt to bribe a politician.
just so you guys know,
Yeah.
I'm giving them stuff.
Yeah. I got $3 million and I'm trying to see Hillary sitting in the Oval Office.
How about that though? All you have to do is say it, but nobody really knows, I guess.
Yeah.
Like who? If you don't look for it, how are you gonna know who's?
I mean, it's just there. It's always been there. You're talking about who is influencing all this
No,
stuff?
I'm saying so. Like if that's what makes it not bribery, is just by like registration. That still doesn't do anything for the general public unless they are actively going like, because you're registered doesn't mean you have to be like out like, hey guys, just so you know, my money is going this way.
How would you feel if a portion of your taxes, a portion of it went to where it goes now, but also a portion of it we're able to go to a political party or a charity or something like that of your choice.
That'd be cool.
That would be interesting, I think. Yeah, I think that would be interesting.
But
you'd have a lot more people voting and caring about what they're actually voting for. I think.
Instead of the money just disappearing, and it's like, well, I guess that's going somewhere.
Yeah. They're still doing road construction on I-10 for the last 19 years. Yeah.
Oh man, dude.
Yeah.
I've only had to do taxes this like last 2 years, so it's not something I'm super familiar with.
Yeah. Well, some people really care about that, man.
I did do a lot of study,
and you should.
I did do a lot of study on like where taxes go inside of our like federal government as far as funding for the military and things like that, because we had to do a lot of research and essays debating about size and strength of the military, and part of the thing is you can't just be like, well, I think we should have a strong military because everyone else has a strong military. It's like, well, I think we should have specifically this much of these different branches because this is how our funding works. And if we actually pulled it and we had to do the whole thing and like show it all and be like, if we move our money around this way, we can actually increase our military size by this much. Or if you were on the other side, it's like, oh well, we can pull some even more funding and put it towards like schools and so, but,
or even towards like VA, like veteran affairs stuff, for that stuff being better.
And we did one on there's like local places or local organizations, nonprofits that do it. So like there's one in the Savannah area that builds, like gets land and actually like builds housing for like veterans and stuff like that. But we also did some on that, talking about federal funding for those types of things. And I forgot where I was going with that, but I don't know. It just, it's amazing, off the tax money, how much money it is when you put a value to it. Yeah. It's so much. Yeah. Like, it's like, how are we spending all of this? I mean, obviously it's going somewhere, but just, I remember looking at it. It's like, how are we putting this much money here and not seeing it show up, like the results of it?
Well, even like sales tax is the one that makes me more frustrated than anything. Like $1, as long as $1 continues to circulate, it itself will generate an infinite amount of revenue because of sales tax. Yeah. And it's just, it's all of it. It seems like the value of money and that stuff just seems so like fake, almost.
Well, that's all it is. I mean, all it is a representation of wealth, and even that representation has changed over the years because of the I guess like the gold standard and stuff. With our inflation, like it's not. Yeah. A U.S. dollar is not. If I remember correctly, when our first like paper money was like a bank note, basically, and it's like, hey, like you have this much money.
It was like an IOU kind of.
Yeah. And it's like, you have this much money, and so this piece of paper is going to represent the amount of wealth that you've put here and like in this specific place, and that can be moved around through the transfer of this piece of paper. And over time, we kind of revised that system, and today it's like, you think about like $1 to $5 bill, $20 bill, like those are all just like that is the value. Like the value now is in these pieces of paper that are supposed to represent wealth. But it's like none of us actually have. I don't have gold sitting in my in like the bank, so it's a completely different system than how it started.
I do know people that still do that though.
I mean,
I worked for a guy that
do it for sure.
I worked for a guy that put like a third of his paycheck into his bank, and the rest of it he spent on gold and silver bullion and put it buried in a shoebox or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, people do it all the time.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest. It doesn't make any sense to me why people talk about when. I get it. Like if you go, let's say we go into a depression, right, and like paper currency just.
Yeah.
It still is confusing to me that gold and silver hold value because no matter what it is,
yeah,
it could be a Cheez-It,
yeah.
bro. That value, the value placed on it is determined by society, like the people. So it's like, okay, why is it that when something bad happens in an emergency, we all still just decide that gold is valuable?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, you know, it's more reliable than paper money. It's like, okay, but why? Why are we deciding that? You know, why is it that we're deciding that this is like, think about it. What's gold going to do for you? If you can't spend the currency, then it's not worth anything if people won't accept it. Yeah. So why is it that we're accepting gold and silver and not just accepting the paper money?
Yeah, and then giving it a value that connects to something that is already devalued, like money itself is just even crazier.
It's such a weird concept because it's
yeah.
I mean, it's working. I mean, people have been doing it for pretty much anyone who's alive.
Yeah,
we've been doing money since before they were around. Yeah. So it's just funny to me that is the thing. It's like, oh, we're going into a depression, everything's falling apart. Oh, gold. I mean, we can trust that. It's like it's just a rock, a shiny rock, and that's crazy. I mean, obviously, it has value based off of how rare it is and how much of it there is in circulation. But still, why not just dollars or
I mean, one day it'll be like computer components and stuff like that you'll instead of gold, because I mean, who really like find anybody, the richest, think of anybody rich and tell them like, I'll give you this $1,000 chunk of gold. Like you could either have that or you could have your $1,000 iPhone.
Yeah.
What do you want? Like they're gonna pick the iPhone, every time.
Dude, we're just gonna end up using Bitcoin eventually.
So let's keep moving. I want to make sure at least that we can. Okay, so 1954 Court narrows Lobbying Act requirements in the United States versus Harris. The Supreme Court clarified and narrowed the scope of the 1946 Lobbying Registration Act, so it covered only paid lobbyists meeting in person with legislatures. The decision also stipulated that the lobbyists must primarily be seeking to advance or defeat a particular bill in order for disclosure to be required under federal law. So basically now they're saying like you can't use the middleman anymore, and
you have to
it has to be
a goal.
For
like it has to be in favor or against a certain it's weird. I don't know how much of the timeline you want to go through. We've got
we just got a couple more right here.
Like
so 1995, the Lobbying Disclosure Act. In the early 1990s, a scandal unfolded centering around a handful of legislators who had been lobbied by the Wendell Corporation, a company that failed to disclose its lobbying on required federal forms and outright bribe policymakers to win government contracts.
Wendell, dude.
Yeah. This web of corruption prompted Congress to pass an upgrade to the lobbying disclosure law, virtually untouched since 1946, to quantify the threshold for what defines lobbying activity and clarify ambiguous terms from the arc. So they must have been throwing some real money out there.
Rain.
Yeah. Let's see what we got next.
These two look like they're on the. Or is this one?
Which one's first?
This one's first.
Yeah. 2006. Abramoff convicted in fraud scandal. In the 1990s and early 2000s, Jack Abramoff was considered a power lobbyist in the tradition of Gilded Age's Sam Ward. However, in 2004, Abramoff and others were charged with fraud, embezzlement of funds from clients, and bribery. Abramoff's 2006 conviction led to a re-examination of the lobbying practices. Abramoff photographed leaving the courthouse in his black fedora and trench coat became a signal of all that was evil in Washington. So let's go to the next one.
Dude, is that where fedora tippers come from? Is that why they're so
I don't know.
hated?
2007, Congress passes the Honest Leadership and Open Government Act. In response to the Abramoff scandal, Congress, led by Senator Harry Reid, Democrat from Nevada, quickly passed the Honest Leadership and Open Government Act, which required lobbying disclosure reports to be filed twice as often and electronically, and tightened restrictions on gifts to members of Congress from lobbyists.
Gifts, dude.
All right, next.
It's like in Pokemon, bro. I sent you a gift.
Let's
Which
make
one
sure
is
that we're
this?
staying.
2011, 2000. These are the same year.
Okay, so in 2011, you just had a couple things happen. You had the Newt Gingrich situation where, let's just read it. The terms consultant and advisor were commonly used.
2007, dude. These are all stacked on. Can we like zoom in?
Yeah.
Jeez.
So let's go back to 2007 real quick. Obama announces he will not take contributions from lobbyists, so we don't really need to read that, and that's something that I already knew. But okay, yeah, we already did this.
We did this one.
Go to Newt Gingrich. So Newt Gingrich, during his 2012 presidential run, caught flack on the campaign trail for supposedly earning millions from healthcare companies and lender Freddie Mac for consulting while never having to register as a lobbyist. So what's the next one?
The next one is
We had one other thing
former
happen in
lawmaker.
2011. Yeah, so former lawmaker, what's this guy's name? It's common for practice in Washington for former members of Congress, ex-congressional staffers, and other highly placed government workers to take job as lobbyists or vice versa.
Dude, imagine
So this is
making a
Chris
law.
Dodd, Democrat from Connecticut.
Imagine making a law, dude, while you're in office. And then when
Lobbying
you're not in
against it.
office,
Lobbying against
you
it.
got to follow it. I mean, lobbying against it, sure, but it's like, oh crap. Now that I'm a normal person.
Yeah.
I mean, I doubt that's like a very specific scenario, but still, could you imagine something like that? It's like you make it and then you're like, you know what? Maybe
Yeah.
not.
Well, it's a perfect job for these guys because they can continue to maintain the relationships. They're,
For
some of these people that they worked with probably, are their close friends and stuff, and they know they already have the influence to be able to lobby and it do decently, I would imagine. So we already did that one. We'll do this one.
This is the last one.
Yep. 2014 lobbying declined since peaking in 2010 at $3.55 billion. Reported lobbying spending has been on a slow decline, dropping to $3.24 billion by 2013. The number of registered lobbyists has similarly declined since 2008 in reaction to stricter rules on lobbying from the Obama administration, an economic downturn, and a relatively inactive Congress.
I mean,
Lobbying firms have been expanding their operations to focus on tactics like grassroots efforts, social media campaigns, and other public relations.
if we're being honest, how much of that just means that people are doing it illegally now?
Yeah, a lot of them really.
You made more laws. I guess we'll stop.
Keep going.
No, I mean that's it. That's all.
Yeah.
That was the thing.
Yeah, I mean, and then you have, the popular one, which is the reason why we're doing this, Black Manafort and Stone. I mean, 2/3 of that group are in federal prison right now. Like most of the time that stuff catches up with these guys that are, kind of dirty.
Dirty Dan's sneaking around out here.
Roger Stone is just Roger Stone, and so some people think he should be in prison. Some people don't think he should be in prison. I just think he's Roger Stone, and I love it. Paul Manafort was, laundering all kind of money and stuff like that.
Yeah. I don't know the whole thing around it, so
yeah.
whenever we do it, it'll be a very educational thing.
Well, cool, man. I enjoyed this one. It was a fun thing to kind of learn about.
Dude, this is just a lot because I really don't understand most of this stuff. I mean, I understand that. So the only thing to understanding this is doing the research and reading and but it's even a lot of like the terms and stuff. I don't really fully understand the definition, so it's hard to.
Yeah.
It's just like the same thing with people, I guess, when they do math and they get the word problems where they don't really know what this means, so they can't visualize it.
Yeah.
It's for me, it's the same thing. All the political terms and the different, even the different parts of federal government don't fully make sense to me. So
Yeah. Well, to be fair, most of this stuff stays out of the scope of people's vision that are your age, until it does start to affect them. Most of the time, for a lot of people, it stays like that until they become independent.
yeah. Yeah.
So, but it's stuff that's important, and it's stuff that I feel like should be learned.
Maybe we should just do it like they did in Star Wars.
What?
Or we just get a big room.
Yeah.
And everyone just goes in there and they just argue.
Yeah.
And then things happen.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what we're already doing a little bit.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about on
Yeah.
Coruscant?
They're
They
just
got the
doing it.
hover
Yeah,
things.
Yeah.
Go in there.
Dude, that would be sick just to have that
Yeah.
in general.
Everyone's just-
Star Wars got it from us.
I know. But they did it better
Yeah.
because they had hovering.
Yeah. Because somebody was like, this is how it should be done. And then they did it
Yeah.
in the movie.
Yeah.
But we can't do it because we don't have hovering.
We need hovering.
Yeah.
I mean,
We could,
we have
they,
it.
they could all do it on hover boards.
Dude. Yeah.
Just get them all into a gym.
I mean, we just need to get them all in there right now.
And if
during
you fall
quarantine
off, you're
anyways.
out, dude.
If you fall off, you're out. That's how we're gonna decide
Yeah.
what bills and stuff.
Musical
pass.
chairs with hoverboards. If you fall off, you're done.
All of the like candidates and stuff are gonna be real young people now because
Yeah.
they're gonna have to be able to be real agile.
Yeah.
Good.
Good. I listened to someone made a lo-fi 8.5 hour Bernie Sanders filibuster. I've
Yeah.
been listening to that.
It was
while I
good
work.
too. It was pretty
And
good.
it was a
I listened
filibuster.
to part
Dude.
of
That
it.
man talked for so long.
Yeah. It was good. I listened to part of it and I liked it. So let's go ahead and get out of here, man.
Yeah, dude, I need to get some water or something.
Yeah. Callie, good
water.
luck today at the thing that you're going to after this.
You having a
Thanks.
quinceanera? What?
I'm having a quinceanera.
Yeah, is that what you're doing?
Yes.
Sick, dude.
All right.
I always
Well,
wanted one of those.
I didn't.
I never got one though.
Well, look, if you want to follow us on social media, you can follow me on Twitter. I am at TBAT Quinn.
Mine is at TBATSKINERICK.
Skynrick.
Yep. I'm kind of funny sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like Russian roulette for being funny. It's gonna be probably 1 in 6 times.
Yeah. But mostly emphasis on the Russian,
Yeah.
And we're gonna, we're working on the merch.
Yeah.
We gotta,
We're close.
yeah, we're close. We gotta do
We're very close.
some minor adjustments. We had the first, whatchamacallit.
The test.
Yeah.
one.
The test.
And we got some blank T-shirts to test it on now,
Yeah.
so that we don't ruin another, another jacket.
Yeah. Cool. Well, hope y'all have a good week. Please like, share, subscribe, tell your grandma, tell whoever,
Tell your mailman.
Yeah, tell your mailman, tell your alligator catcher.
Tell your mail woman if you got one of those.
MAIL.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We got one of those at our house.
Yeah.
She doesn't stay there. She just stops by like once a week
Yeah.
or whenever it is. How often do they do it? Dude?
Every day, dude, except
I
for
don't
Sunday.
think so.
She doesn't stay there.
Yeah.
I don't think she stops by every day. I swear that lady only comes by every so often.
Dude, I don't know, man. I'm surprised that y'all just haven't used all of the package boxes that come to your house to make
A fort?
no,
They
just to
won't
make
let
an
me.
extension on the house.
Oh. I want to build a castle. They won't let me.
Well, we'll just do it in here one day, dude.
All right.
Yeah.
Dude, one day people go to watch and we're just inside of one of those college boy forts that's made out of a bunch of beer boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I got an idea. I'm gonna tell you
Corona
next
and
time.
Bud Light sparkling.
I'm gonna tell you later this idea that I have. All right. Well, everybody have a good week. Stay quarantined. Don't touch one another.
Wash your hands.
Yeah.
Keep your hands in your pockets.
Yeah.
Keep them out of your friend's mouth.
Yeah. We'll talk to y'all next week.